Good day. This is Lateesha with Soul Spread Wisdom, and I'm with Malek Saleh, and he is a powerful king within our Black community, and we have just been chit-chatting. He is visiting me here in Texas, and we're just having a conversation about the power of connecting with your ancestors to help guide you. And so as we were having this conversation, I said, let's just record it. Let's record it so we can just share our thoughts with people. And maybe we can share something that will help somebody else and engage them in the conversation. So leave your comments. And so we're just going to continue the conversation and record it. So, all right, Malek, as we were saying, you were saying, give it to us again, break it down as far as the disconnect that we have with our purpose as it relates to connecting with our ancestors.
Sure. Thank you, Lateesha. So the problem is, there's a lot of complaints about Black people not standing or sticking together. We're not working together. There's always like many factions within our community. And we brag on being a monolith, not being a monolith. Like we all don't have the same mind or same goal. We have all these varying opinions, all these varying ways of living. And we can never seem to hold on to any progress or hold on to any achievements for too long without having to create the will or build the will over and over again every generation. And one of the biggest reasons of that is the fact that when we were brought over here, they brought us and mixed us within our communities with different tribes, with different cultures, so that we would not be able to communicate fully with one another. So what that looked like, bringing people from one tribe or one nation and mix that group with another group, and their theory was, in order to keep us from revolting, in order for us to keep imbalanced, not knowing what's going on between us, not trusting one another because we don't have the same ways of doing things. We were going to stay idle in our quest for freedom, or in our quest for justice. So eventually, with our religious practice, our spirituality, some of that became the word is syncretized. Everything became meshed, but that beef, which is unresolved, coming from a different culture, coming from a different way of life, is still in our DNA. So when we think it's our own thoughts today, why we don't like that person over here, or we look at this other individual and we say for some reason, that person always trying to make it, or that person's trying to build success for himself, and then for some reason something happens to them. Saying it's always a brother, a black man is always, putting another black man down or stopping another black person from rising. We don't look at the DNA. We don't look at the history behind that. We don't look at the reasons beyond what we see, or even just the surface level of slavery. Because we always talk about the slave mindset or the slave mentality, but we don't look at the genealogy or the genetics or the DNA behind all of our decisions. So essentially, we can we can heal that if we get in contact or commune with our ancestors. They were there. They know the issues. They know the problems. They know that what was going on during that time was the cause is the cause for a lot of the reasons of things, things happening in this time. So we've lost that culture. When we've adopted certain traditions or belief systems that we hold on for dear life today, And because we're disconnected from that legacy, we're disconnected from that lesson, that history that's in our blood. But we have to get in contact with it in order to reveal the truth to ourselves. Let them speak to us through our blood, because they're in our blood, waiting for us to communicate. And it's like, until we do that, we're going to be at odds with one another. We're going to have all these marches, and we're going to have all these candlelight moments out in the streets, and pouring out liquor for our homies, because we don't realize that within our DNA is the problem. The true communication, how to settle this, is going back to the ancestors. They'll know, based on the culture, based on the ethnicity, based on the traditions of the individual groups of people that came over here, that was pushed or pressed together in some type of hodgepodge, so that we can stay imbalanced or stay off of our feet, not being sure of this, our neighbor, because we don't know if that person is really for us or against us, and that's been carried through generations.
So what would you suggest for those who feel like speaking to the ancestors or honoring the ancestors? Because we don't worship the ancestors, but we venerate and honor the ancestors. So what would you say to those who feel that it's demonic, it's evil? How do you speak to those people?
Well, I would speak to those people by saying that they have been lied to. They have been lied to. They have been misled. Not to sound like one of our favorite famous ancestors, our revolutionary ancestors. But Malcolm was correct. Malcolm X was correct about that. We've been lied to. We've been misled. And it was all calculated in order for us not to have that connection with our history, with our story, but stay stuck on his story. Even the whole idea of slavery, the way it's presented to us is his story. It's not our story. So the whole thing is, if we got in touch with our ancestors, we would be able to learn our story. It's much more vast than what they've told us. And for those individuals, I was just something small. If you want to pray to the Most High to get clarity on this, that's fine. But I'll leave you with this much. All throughout Scripture, they talk about the ancestors. When they mention the Most High, they first mention the ancestors. They don't just say, oh, the Most High. They say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The ancestors, they went right to them. They said, remember, this is the God of your ancestors. This is what they're talking about when they say it, when they address the Most High in that way. So there's nothing wrong or inherently wrong with acknowledging and revering your ancestors. That's from where you came. That's like you expect a tree to exist with no roots. It's dead. You're cut off from that which sustains you, that which feeds you, that which nourishes and provides sustenance from the soil from which you came from. A tree can't exist that way. You can take a flower and you can cut it at the stem. It's only going to last maybe a few days, maybe, and then you have to try to maintain that with some concoction that they give you. But eventually it dies because it's cut off from the source. So what I would do, and then those of you, and I use the Christian Bible because a lot of our people are Christians, but it's just a plethora of information in there talking about reverencing the ancestors. Malachi 4:6, I believe, it talked about reverencing the ancestors, where it said the turn, that the Most High would turn the hearts of the children to the fathers' hearts back to the children, lest he smite the earth with a curse. I think we see that now.
So you're saying, in that scripture, Malachi 4:6, it gives reference to the importance of honoring the ancestors.
Yes.
Tying bringing the link back together.
Absolutely, because the children were losing their ways. They lost their ways. Like I said, they wasn't losing; they lost their ways. They were doing things any old kind of way. They were doing things. They were losing. The Most High wanted them to win. Right. There was a curse because they were doing what was not acceptable. And I mean, for the record, it's not that, I'm going to curse you because you. No, anytime you live opposite what you're supposed to do, you're not blessed. It is a curse. You're not blessed. It's not like someone's just standing over you and I'm just going to curse you. You watch too much TV. If this is how you believe it happens. You turn your back on what you're supposed to, your purpose. You're going to receive suffering. This is what can be identified as the curse. You're not living right. you're not doing what you're supposed to do. These things naturally attract to that. These circumstances that are not favorable will come upon you because of this way of life that you should not be living. So in that scripture, it talked about the children remembering their ancestors. How did they do it? What did they do to honor me? How did they live? How did they survive? Now, think of this. In the worst of times, we did so much better than these supposedly best of times. What do I mean? Well, first of all, we had a stronger community. First of all, we had, people who were education minded. I mean, they needed, it was imperative for them to understand how to read. Just a basic skill nowadays. This is basic and it's taken for granted. Just so that they will know exactly what's being said around them, to understand the moves to make when dealing with the oppressor, so that they won't be taken by surprise. They knew that these were ways that they could secure freedom for themselves. They knew that this was a way, education was a way for them to survive in this land. So they were able to acquire land. They were able to acquire businesses. They were able to acquire things that made their community strong. And it's like we've been sold on the idea, and I know I seem like I'm talking all over the place, but I'm just thinking about what our ancestors did and how they survived on little and were able to achieve so much. And we have so much and achieve so little.
So do you feel that if we reconnect with our ancestors, that the ability that they had to be able to make something out of nothing, basically, that we would be able to tap into those particular gifts? Have you found that, your ancestors, they speak to you, by way of dream, to just help you in your daily life?
Yes. Yes. If we reconnect with the ancestors, we would be able to, through what's already in us, our DNA, they would be able to speak to us on how to live our lives. It would be much more rewarding, much more fulfilling. So speaking for myself, for example, I would say before I ventured in this way of life or ventured into ancestor veneration, you know, I was a lot more unsure about things that I would be doing, or how things need to be done, which way to go. Um, not leaning on the knowledge and wisdom that my ancestors already have given me, blessed me through my DNA, and just living with a lack of confidence in certain things. And man, should I be doing this, or I don't know if I should, and every day is a process. So it's not like all of a sudden you're going to be 100%. I got it, everything. I know it. It doesn't work that way. And that's part of building your relationship with your ancestors. So more on that a little bit after, I explained my benefits. So once I got in tune once I started being more committed, once I started acknowledging and building a relationship and growing, there were certain things that would even come to me in dreams, stuff that I would shrug off, because the ancestors always try to talk to you when you don't even try to talk to them. They try to communicate, and depending on your personality, depending on your upbringing, you may dismiss it, you might deny it, you might even say it's of the devil, and none of that is true. It's of your lineage. Your people are trying to talk to you, trying to save you, trying to get you on right track so you can be in alignment with their ultimate purpose for your life. They want good for you. They want what's best for you. This is what they want. And they'll try to use all kinds of means to get this information to you. You might see it in a dream. You might have a vision. You might have a thought about something just out of nowhere. Man, I remember when my grandmother used to cook, beans. They'll come to find out that you lacking protein, or you lacking some nutrient that you need, and the only way to get that nutrient is by eating beans. So that may happen to you. It happened to me. It was something that I was lacking nutritionally, and then all of a sudden, I didn't know it until after the fact, when I had this craving or desire to have some type of food. I was able to, cook it. And I'm like, man, this is, I haven't had this in so long, Come to find out, it was a benefit nutritionally for me. That I was lacking some type of, I had some type of deficiency, vitamin deficiency.
And you shared with me too that it came to you just an understanding about basil. Yeah. Surely that was the ancestors who were speaking to you and guiding you.
Yeah, absolutely. Basil has a lot of positive properties. And then when I researched it, I that's when I discovered it. I mean, I cook, but it's not like I'm a chef. Like I know this herb here, and I know it. I don't use a lot of herbs. It's just salt and pepper, baby. Salt and pepper. So it's like, all of a sudden I started getting into these different herbs, and that came to me, in a dream. That was from my ancestors. Once I started using it, I realized that's an herb that I can use for a spiritual, a psychological, even a physical benefit. That I need. You might need something else. They might come to you with a different herb altogether, that you may need for your own personal condition. But that's what your ancestors can do when you build that relationship with them. Their voice gets stronger. Your hearing gets clearer. I mean, even in scripture it says, let him who have ear, let him hear, let him who have eyes, let him see. So they say these words are just not something that just sounds pretty. These are codes for, you know, a deeper message involved that you need to take note of.
Mm-hmm.
That message that your ancestors left, that legacy that they left, is bigger than that chain, is bigger than that iron that was around their neck. That's part of it. That's the price for you having to have, you know, to be here today. That's the price that they paid for that.
Mm-hmm.
So you would not have to do that. So you would not have to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
They made sacrifices even up after that, where they created businesses, they created jobs. We weren't waiting for someone else to create a job. We wasn't waiting for someone else to take care of our communities. They did that. You know, and then they talk about, and I have to go back a little bit, the Great Migration. Think about all that land that we have forsaken.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of safety. It wasn't because, we didn't have any idea how to run or operate the land. It was for safety reasons. We were being attacked constantly. So, you know, the whole idea of, you know, many of the deaths that we have recently heard about that were in the news, that were, you know, talked about, discussed on YouTube, and all these different forms of media. Think about if the people were in communication with their ancestors before these events occurred. They have already lived this. They have already been through this. It's the reason why they believe that going north will be better, because they heard the lie that it was better in the north. And they were only trying to make a better life for their families. They realized the truth, that it wasn't better than the north, but because we are disconnected, they couldn't inform us of this. They couldn't warn us of this.
They were trying to warn us, but we are so disconnected from their voice and how they speak to us, and we've been bamboozled to think that it's demonic. So in that, we follow something that is foreign, right?
Yes.
And are misguided.
Yes. So through their trying to warn us, because we turned a deaf ear, because we shut ourselves off through the various of religions that we have adopted, much by force, we keep losing. You know, we gotta win. Winning isn't all about getting money. It's not all about getting to be able to do the thing like, I want to be a basketball player, I want to be a football player, I want to be a rapper. That's not winning. Those are occupations. Winning is getting freedom. Winning is getting justice. Winning is being able to self-determine your way through life. That's winning. Winning is being connected to your ancestors, or being connected in that cycle of life that is going to ensure that your future generations will not have to reinvent the wheel that you had to in this generation. You pass on, you know, our purpose, we're supposed to pass on a legacy, you know, a legacy that's rich in opportunity, justice, making sure that our future generations are secure, not a legacy of debt and confusion and pain and suffering. You know, you're not going to get this. You're not going to get your help from government. You're not going to get your help from politicians. They lie to you. They lie all the time. They promise you everything and give you nothing or next to nothing. You're not going to get this from the educational system the way it is designed right now, because they're designed to keep you in the place that you're in right now. You know, that prison, the pipeline that they talk about, school to prison pipeline, that's a real thing. And it's designed for that. It is designed.
So you feel that even though the systems have been set up this way, you know, venerating the ancestors, connecting with them, and paying attention to their guidance can circumvent some of the challenges that have been traps that have been laid before us, like you say about the school to prison pipeline, you know, connecting with the ancestors and then introducing this to your children can help them make better decisions, because bringing the elders back in and honoring the elders and honoring the family can help that child from veering off, or even if they should veer off, the ancestors can intervene.
Yes, absolutely. Because once you get in contact with your ancestors, that's Big Mama, that's Big Daddy right there. They right there. They in your corner. They're looking out for you. You're looking out for them, because your energy helps them elevate. Your energy helps them manifest in your life. When you have those problems, or the problems that we have, for example, they have the guidance. They've been there. They've been there and done that. It's like, again, we're reinventing the wheel without their guidance. And you can receive their guidance. Their guidance will help. Their guidance helps us to go further than they have. It just makes sense.
It's the thing of standing on their shoulders.
Standing on their shoulders.
With the knowledge that they have and they give to you.
Right.
To help you avoid disaster.
Absolutely.
If we would listen.
Exactly.
If we would connect. If we would listen. So for those who listen to this and they find that they do want to connect with the ancestors, what would you suggest as first steps?
First steps. Well, I'm going to share with what was given to me. First steps is, begin the connection through just talking to them. Start with a conversation to reconnect. First of all, start off with...
Let me say this. Do you need to have, in order to talk to your ancestors, do you need to have anything extra? Any other tools to talk to your ancestors?
No.
No,
you don't need the tools. Essentially.
Right.
Essentially, you don't. Eventually, once you advance, then of course we talk about getting a candle, getting a glass of water, even a picture of your immediate departed loved ones that loved you, that you could connect to, that you were connected to in this life while they were alive. But starting off, just talk. Talk about, talk to your grandmother, say, Grandma, I come to you in reverence. I know who you were to me in life. I know who you were to me. I know that you looked out for me. I know that you cared for me. I need support. I need guidance. I need help. Help me. These are the things that actually, if I remember growing up, these are the things that Grandma would do. She would talk to her ancestors. I've seen this myself, but I didn't understand it at the time. She would talk to, my grandmother would talk to her Aunt Emma. I remember that. How am I going to solve this problem? What am I going to do next? And I promise you, she got the answer. She didn't have a water. She didn't have a candle. She had her conversation.
Yes.
She had her intent.
Yes.
Her intent was to reconnect with her loved one. Is she worshiping her loved one? No. She's not.
So then after you, some people, that may be enough just to talk to them, just to lay in the bed and talk to your ancestors and ask them for their assistance, give them thanks, for how they have helped and guided along the way.
Yes.
But for others who need to, like myself, I'm a person that needs to have something physical and tangible to aid me in my spiritual practice. So for a person like myself, what would you suggest as far as setting up just a simple altar?
Yeah, so that's where the water the glass of water come in. That's when that cup of coffee come in. And you don't even have to worry about the cup of coffee right now. I know that's left field for some. Look, coffee. What do you do with the coffee? So you have a candle. You have maybe a picture frame, of your loved one. You have a glass of water. Cool water, because cool water represents that peacefulness, that tranquility, that cup of water that you would give someone who was thirsty on their way. That picture, just to keep that connection in your own mind, that this person was your loved one, that you remember, that was dear to you, and you were dear to that person. The candle, that lights the way. That's a spark, if you will, that opens or begins that door for that conversation between you and your loved one, right? So, just those basic items. It's not complicated, but if you need that ritual, it's there every day. You do the same thing.
Or if you're not, it's okay if you don't do it every day.
Right.
Whenever you feel called to do, but to build the relationship, you want to have some consistency. And the other thing that I want to add or interject is that the color white is so important, because white has a correspondence with elevation and purity. And so having a white cloth, setting up that the altar space, even with a small table or a TV tray, and having the white cloth, it doesn't have to be expensive. You can get a 1-yard piece of cloth from Walmart and spread that over that TV tray or that table. Add a small white candle. I would, for fire safety, use one that is within the glass, and so it can be left, and have the water in a clear glass for clarity of thought, so spirit can speak clearly. And so we have fire, we have water. You can light an incense in that area if you would like to, for air. And then you can offer herbs for earth. And you have all 4 elements. And then, like you said, like you suggested, you could have the picture frame with the picture in it if you have one, but some people don't have that. And some people, by way of adoption, they don't even know who their blood is. There are some people that are that way. And if you don't know names of loved ones who love you, you can simply write on a sheet of paper, for all of my elevated ancestors who love me, who ride for me. And when you go to that altar and say those and light that candle, those ancestors, they know you. They know you even though you don't know them. And they have been speaking to you and guiding you the whole time and are looking forward to reconnecting with you. And they will guide you and they will teach you the things that you need to know. They will teach you and train you on different things. And where you would say, where is that coming from? That is coming from within your blood to help you in this lifetime. Guide you in every way. In every way. Yeah. So do you have any last words before we wrap this up?
First and foremost, I would advise anyone to do your research. You can, take what we're saying and apply it, and it will profit good results. But if you're still unsure, do the research. We would never sit here and say, take our word for anything. That's not what we're about. Prove us. Do your due diligence and get out there and look at these things. Like I said, for those of you in Scripture, Bible, it's in there. It's in there. It's a plethora of scriptures that talk about respecting and reverencing the ancestors. If you're reading the Quran, it's in there. It said, reverence the wombs that you come from.
Mm.
Not the womb, the wombs. So it's multiple wombs that we've been coming through, that pipeline from spirit to the flesh.
That's good. That's good word.
So think about these things. Even honoring thy mother and thy father, that your days may be long in the land. That's still talking about your ancestors. I know it seemed like they're talking about the first two people that, that bore you right there presently, but that's not necessarily all that they're talking about in that scripture.
There's so much more.
You have a line of individuals that you come from. A line of, on your patrilineal side, your matrilineal side. People that are warriors, scholars, kings, queens, cooks. Yeah, cooks. Yeah, absolutely. Herbalists, healers, priests, shamans.
Yes.
All of these individuals that come through you if you can access your blood.
That's good.
Research.
Well, yes, research. Well, Malek Saleh, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on my channel today. And for those of you who are looking for more wisdom from Mr. Malek Saleh, you can go to his YouTube channel. It's a newer channel, and so he'll be adding additional content. But, I've been blessed today by this conversation. And for all of you who are listening, thank you so much. And I say to you, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe O, Yod He Vav He.